Hey there, welcome to Sudoku. So let's start by understanding the basics. Sudoku is a very popular puzzle game. Many people all over the world enjoy playing it every day. You know, it's interesting. Sudoku is a game that uses numbers, but it's not about mathematics. You really don't need to be good at sums or calculations. Instead, Sudoku is a game of logic and careful thinking. Honestly, it can be a very relaxing and satisfying way to pass the time. Plus, it's also a wonderful way to give your brain a good workout. Anyone can learn to play Sudoku. You just need to understand a few simple rules to begin your journey. The Sudoku puzzle is presented on a special grid. This grid is a large square, and it is made up of 81 smaller cells. These cells are neatly arranged into 9 rows that go across. There are also 9 columns that go down. Think of it as a kind of big checkerboard, but with more squares. When you start a new puzzle, some of these cells will already have numbers printed in them. These pre-filled numbers are your clues. They are essential for helping you solve the rest of the puzzle. If you look at the Sudoku grid more closely, you'll notice something else. The large 9x9 grid is also divided into 9 smaller squares. Each of these smaller squares contains 9 cells. These are arranged in 3 rows and 3 columns. We often call these 3x3 boxes or sometimes regions. These boxes are a very important part of the Sudoku rules. Understanding how they work is key to solving the puzzle. Each box acts like a mini-puzzle within the larger game, adding another layer to the challenge. The main goal in Sudoku is quite straightforward to understand. Your objective is to fill every single empty cell in the entire 9x9 grid. To do this, you must use the numbers from 1 through to 9. There is a very important rule you must always follow. Each number from 1 to 9 can only appear one time in each individual row. Similarly, each number can only appear one time in each individual column. And finally, each number can only appear one time in each 3x3 box. No repeats are allowed within any single row, column, or box. Alright, let's talk about getting started, your first moves. So, how do you begin to solve a Sudoku puzzle? The best way to start is by looking carefully at the numbers that are already provided on the grid. These given numbers are your essential clues. They are the foundation upon which you will build your solution. These numbers tell you where other numbers cannot go, because of the no repeats rule. Start by observing these clues and thinking about how they restrict the placement of missing numbers in the surrounding empty cells. This initial observation is your first step in applying logical deduction. A good next step is to scan the rows. Pick any row on the grid to focus on. Carefully look at all the numbers that are already present in that particular row. Then try to identify which numbers from 1 to 9 are still missing from that row. For example, if you see a row that contains the numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9, you will know that the numbers 2, 5, and 8 are the ones that need to be placed in the empty cells of that row. This process helps you narrow down the possibilities. After checking rows, you should do the same thing for the columns. Select any column on the grid. Examine the numbers that are already filled in within that specific column. Just like with the rows, your task is to determine which numbers from 1 to 9 are missing from this column. This methodical scanning of columns, combined with what you learned from scanning the rows, will give you more information. It helps you understand what numbers must eventually be placed in the empty cells of that column to satisfy the rules. Finally, do not forget to check the 3x3 boxes. These boxes are just as important as the rows and columns. Look at each 3x3 box one at a time. Identify which numbers from 1 to 9 are already present inside that particular box. Then, figure out which numbers are missing from it. By systematically checking rows, then columns, and then these 3x3 boxes, you will start to find empty cells where only one specific number can possibly go without breaking any rules. And honestly, this is where the real puzzle solving begins to unfold. Alright, so one of the first techniques you'll use is finding single candidates. This is often the easiest way to place a number. A single candidate happens when an empty cell is the absolute only place that a specific number can go. And, this can be true within a particular row, a particular column, or a particular 3x3 box. For instance, if you're looking at a row and you find there's only one empty cell where the number 5 can fit without causing a repeat, then you know the number 5 must definitely go into that cell. This is a very common and powerful way to fill in numbers. Let's consider an example of a single candidate. Imagine you're looking at a specific row. This row already has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 filled in. You can see that only the number 5 is missing from this row. If there's only one single empty cell left in that entire row, then the number 5 must logically go into that empty cell. It's as straightforward as that. Another example could be in a 3x3 box. If a box needs the number 7, and all the other empty cells in that box are in rows or columns that already contain a 7, then the remaining empty cell in the box must be the 7. Another useful technique is called discovering hidden singles. This one can be a little bit trickier to spot than a straightforward single candidate. A cell might appear to have several possible numbers it could take based on initial checks. However, if one of those potential numbers cannot be placed anywhere else within that specific row, or that specific column, or that specific 3x3 box, then it becomes a hidden single for that cell. For example, in a 3x3 box, the number 3 might only fit into one particular cell, even if that cell could also theoretically take a 4 or a 6 based on its row and column information alone. Finally, let's talk about naked pairs. This technique involves looking for a pair of numbers. Sometimes as you scan the grid, you'll find 2 empty cells that are in the same row, or the same column, or the same 3x3 box. These 2 cells might be the only 2 cells in that unit, row, column, or box that can possibly contain 2 specific numbers. For instance, you might find 2 cells where only the numbers 2 or 8 can go, and no other numbers. This is called a naked pair. This discovery tells you that 2 and 8 must go in those 2 cells, and therefore 2 and 8 cannot go in any other empty cells in that same row, column, or box. When you're first learning how to play Sudoku, it's very likely you'll make some mistakes along the way. This is perfectly normal and really nothing to be concerned about. Everybody makes mistakes, especially when they're learning something new. The best advice for beginners is to play Sudoku using a pencil and a good eraser. That way, if you place a number incorrectly, you can easily rub it out and try again. Learning often comes from trying things, sometimes getting them wrong, and then figuring out why. Patience is a very important quality to have when solving Sudoku puzzles. These puzzles can vary greatly in difficulty. Some might be very easy, and you can solve them in just a few minutes. Others can be much more challenging, and might take a significantly longer time to complete. It's important to be patient with yourself, and with the puzzle. If you find yourself feeling stuck or frustrated, it's often a good idea to take a short break. Step away from the puzzle for a while and then come back to it later with fresh eyes. You might be surprised at what you see. There's a wonderful feeling of accomplishment when you correctly place a number in a Sudoku grid. Each number that you fill in correctly is like a small victory, a step closer to solving the entire puzzle. When you finally manage to fill in the very last empty cell, and the entire grid is complete according to all the rules, it's an incredibly satisfying moment. You've successfully used your logical thinking skills and your concentration to overcome the challenge. This feeling of achievement is one of the main reasons why so many people around the world love to play Sudoku. The more you practice playing Sudoku, the better you'll become at it. It's just like any other skill. With regular practice, you'll start to recognize patterns more quickly. You'll become more familiar with the different solving techniques, and you'll learn how to apply them more effectively. Your logical thinking abilities will also grow stronger and sharper. Sudoku is truly a fantastic way to keep your mind active, engaged, and entertained. So, find yourself a puzzle, pick up your pencil, and enjoy the rewarding journey of mastering the grid. You certainly can do it.